everyone. So this is going to be the spoiler talk review of what I thought of the Flash, the new DC Universe movie from Andres Muschietti, starring Ezra Miller, Michael Keaton, Sasha Calam, whoever plays Supergirl, and I can't really think of many other actors, but it was a great movie, and I'm going to talk in this review about things that I wanted to talk about in my previous review, but couldn't because they would spoil the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, you've heard this message 100 times before, but don't watch this video. Just go and see the movie for yourself. It's a fun, great movie. It's definitely worth your time and money. It's one of the best DCEU films in my opinion. But overall, I'm going to talk about what this movie is about, all of the different spoiler things when it comes to the crossover characters, the things that went down in this movie. So without further ado, here I go. So The Flash at its core is a time travel crossover movie that also deals with parallel universes, much in like the same way that No Way Home and Into the Spider-Verse does. But this is kind of more like DC's take on it. As you know from the trailers, Michael Keaton is in this movie reprising his role as the Tim Burton Batman from the late 80s and early 90s. And he was absolutely great in this movie. You could see that he was very passionate about putting the suit back on and having fun as Batman again. And he was definitely a very likeable and warm presence in the movie. He was basically pretty much the same Bruce Wayne as you knew him back in the 80s and early 90s. He played off Ezra Miller very well, and he also played off Supergirl very well. So the main plot story of this movie is that the Flash is trying to prevent his mother's own death, which permanently changed him during his childhood, which made him become more cynical and more jaded and, you know, a bit more closed off to the world. And so he discovers an ability that he's able to run so fast that he's able to travel backwards in time. And not long after he returns back to his teenhood years, and I think it's supposed to be the early 2010s. I think it's supposed to be 2013 because I see an Inception and Pacific Rim 1 poster. And Pacific Rim 1 came out in 2013, so it might be 2014. So it's about 10 years ago from the present day at the time of this recording, which is 2023. Man, it's it's funny to think that 2013 was 1 decade ago now, but damn, time sure does fly, doesn't it? But anyway, he meets up with the alternate version of himself, which is the Flash, before he's discovered his powers and before his mother was killed. Now, it still doesn't really completely reveal who killed Flash's mother. When you see a scene early on, it kind of looks like it's a suicide, that she just took a knife and she stabbed it into her chest. So yes, from the movie it does look like it's a suicide, but his father is actually accused of the crime and gets sent to jail for, I think it's about 10 years by the time this movie starts. And the Flash kind of realizes if he changes a few things, like stopping his mother from buying like a can of tomatoes or something like that he will prevent her death. But as the movie goes on, he realizes that there is literally nothing he can do with all of his power to prevent his mother from being killed. Whether it was a murder or it was a suicide, the film doesn't really reveal much about the true motives of her death. And I think it's kind of staying that way. Maybe I didn't follow the movie hard enough, but it was very hard for me to figure out who actually killed her. But I don't think it was meant. I think it was deliberately meant to remain mysterious. But overall, anyway, he goes back in time, meets his younger self, and also, apart from trying to stop his mother from being killed, he's also trying to stop General Zod from taking over the planet, just like he did in Man of Steel, which I still haven't seen, but I know a bit about. But I know he was in that movie, and he was the main villain of that movie. But anyway, they realise they can't save the world alone, so they try and find Batman. And the Batman in this universe, the only Batman that's ever existed, was not the Ben Affleck Batman that you see in the start of the movie. It is Michael Keaton from the Tim Burton days of Batman. So a lot of Tim Burton 80s, 90s Batman fans will definitely get something out of this movie because he is in this movie, and what he does very well in this movie. You probably wish he was in it a little bit more, but for what he was given, it was definitely a very, very good performance from Michael Keaton, and I was very happy that it wasn't crap. This movie wasn't crap. That's the thing about this movie. It was not a crappy DCU film. It was actually really good. And it's very refreshing to see the quality of a DC film actually like go above like the 7 out of 10 rating, which is great. And of course Supergirl is in it too. They try to look for Superman because to fight Zod, but they realise that Superman is dead or doesn't exist in this parallel timeline. But they find this malnourished woman in this isolation chamber in this Soviet Russian camp in like the Siberian mountains. And they do spend quite a bit of time there. There's a really good fight sequence that happens here. A lot of tension in this scene. A lot of character revelations in this scene. And there's a scene where that Michael Keaton's Batman explains that the scars, his mental scars, are what made him who he was. So he believes that we shouldn't go back into the past and fix our past mistakes and heal our scars, because he believes that scars aren't actually meant to be healed. They actually grow us, grow our character, so it's probably best to leave our past mistakes in the past and not try and change it and make things worse. But the Flash believes otherwise. He still believes he can fix his mistakes and make his life better and bring his mother back. But as time goes on, he realizes this is not the truth, and here's why. So towards the very end of the film, the younger version of the Flash is able to find the ability for him to rewind time, and they both and the older Flash chases him while he does this, and they come across like this very trippy, like almost like this arena sort of scape. Looks like a big coliseum, but it's all twisting around them, and there's all of these different timelines that are coming into view, and all the past and present and future possibilities. And the younger Flash, being as naive as he is just darting all over the place, trying his absolute best to fix everything, and he is failing. And another villain is revealed that is teased earlier in the film, back when there's only one Flash. And there's this big evil dude with big purple eyes, and he's all crusty. There's all this evil like crust like growing around him. And it is revealed that this villain is actually the younger Flash trying to fix all the mistakes for over probably the span of like an eternity. And it's at this moment that he realizes that there's nothing he can do to bring his mother back. It is a fated event that is always going to happen no matter what happens. It's kind of like what in the show Doctor Who, when David Tennant said there are fixed points in the timeline that are so crucial to the history of the universe that not even the Doctor can touch them because they are that important. And basically Flash's death of his mother is one of those events. He just cannot change it. It is permanently unchangeable. Also, Michael Keaton's Batman dies early in like the third act of the movie, in like a climactic battle that's on this big field where they're fighting against the General Zod's henchmen, and he says that and then Flash says, "I'm so sorry I couldn't bring you back from the dead," and Batman just smiles at him and he said, "You already did, son," and he smiles as he dies, which is actually quite heartwarming. I did like that scene. And the movie concludes that with the Flash coming to the realization that he really cannot bring his mother back, and it was meant to happen to help him grow as a person. And he goes back into the supermarket, puts back the tomatoes, and he kind of approaches his mother, but his mother doesn't know that it's his son, but he just says she's going to miss him, and he cries and he hugs her. And this was actually a very heartwarming scene. It was a very heartfelt scene, and I really did like this scene of how emotional it was. This movie will make you grateful that you have a mother or had a mother. It will just make you want to go home and hug your mum and say to your mum that you love her and that you're grateful for everything, because you never know when a family member will pass away or will move out of your life. So you've got to treat every day as it's your last day with these people, because they are that precious and you should not be taking them for granted. That's a major thing that I took away from this movie. And that was one of the messages that I think it was trying to drive home, that your time on this earth is limited. People that you love are not going to be around forever, and you have to spend every moment you can with them, because you can't bring them back from the dead. And that's basically what I think of The Flash. It was a very fun movie, a very smartly written movie of the way it kind of dealt with time travel in a different way that we haven't seen before. It had a really good Back to the Future reference in it, where in the alternate universe that The Flash is in, Eric Stoltz is Marty McFly instead of Michael J. Fox, which I thought was really funny. I haven't heard of Eric Stoltz in much of anything. I know he was originally cast for Back to the Future, but the director wasn't very happy with his performance and said that yeah, it was a good try, but we're going to look for someone else. And then Michael J. Fox came in, and the rest was history. But I do like how Eric Stoltz was referenced in this movie, and it was a pretty fun and smart reference. But anyway, that's what I think of The Flash in spoiler terms. I hope you enjoyed watching this movie as much as I did. I still rated a 7.8 out of 10 on my 10 out of 10 scale. It's definitely at one of the best DCEU films. And now that James Gunn is leaving Marvel and working on DC Universe, I have a feeling it's going to get better from here, because Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was amazing, and he's done a lot of great movies. So anyway, that's my review, my opinion. I hope you have enjoyed it, and of course, thanks for watching.